Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me. Like Maggie said, we had a successful meet this weekend. We're in a good place right now. Started off the season battling some injuries. Actually took out 2 All-Americans, which kind of hurt us to start. So we had a little slow start, slower than usual. I think we've been fortunate the past couple of years that we really haven't been bitten by the injury bug, and obviously it's been beneficial to us. But this year started out a little differently. So we're expecting a lot from our newcomers that have come up and really done the job, and we're getting some momentum going, and we're happy with that, winning the last 4. Had a little difficulties on beam this weekend against Ohio State, but went to Flora and just smashed it, and yeah, it was great. I think we had 4 9.9s out of 6 routines, something like that. Bars is coming back. We were hit bars was like our Achilles heel beginning of the season. Sticky landings. Seems to be they're either not hitting their handstands or not sticking their landings. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But we're getting there. I think this is going to be one of those years where we're starting to peak at the right time, where we used to come out of the gate strong and just try to maintain and just get better, each weekend as we went along. So like Maggie said, we head to Minnesota for Big Fours this weekend, Sunday. There's 3 sites throughout the Big Ten, 1 at UCLA, 1 at Penn State, and 1 at Minnesota. With basically you're seeing the teams, or 3 of the teams that you didn't see. There are 2 teams that we don't see every year in our conference because there are 12 teams. So we'll be at Minnesota along with Rutgers and Illinois. Yeah. So Minnesota on paper is just kind of neck and neck with us. Are we tied for second right now in the Big Ten? I believe we're 4-2. So, little home field advantage or whatever, but we don't let that bother us. We just worry about us. We're trying to better ourselves. Girls have been looking great in the gym. Some individual personal notes or whatever. It appears that Olivia Zarmani will be back on vault and on bars this year, which will help us, or this weekend, which will help us. Her injury after coming back last weekend and vaulting for us after not being in 2 or 3 meets, I believe, because of her injury. Came out of the gates and blasted a huge Ucheko full and a half and nailed it and won the event. So we're hoping she does that on bars too. She's starting to progress back on beam and floor as well, but here being where we are in the season, we'll see how that goes. Everybody else, there's been some faces out and some new faces in. Corinne Marquardt is looking really good as a freshman on floor and vault. Michaela Tucker has had a banner year for us. She's won a couple all-arounds for us, putting all 4 events together. Nikki Smith is still out there. She had a little struggle at the beginning of the season, but she's coming around and getting her legs back, and she's going to still do some great things for us. Katie Duplessis, vault, beam, floor, doing some amazing work for us. Gabby Ortiz on floor. Biz Isabella Trostel on beam, doing some great stuff as well. Beam just had like a little hiccup this weekend, so that's very uncharacteristic, and as much as that sounds like, well, that's easy to say, we don't see that. Beam has been our strength throughout when we've had some off bar days or whatever. Beam has really been there to pick us up, and then floor really boosts, we take it home when we finish on floor. Nia Howard being a lead off on bars gets our bar squad going and rallying, and it just comes down to those landings again. After Big Four this weekend, we head to Auburn, SEC territory next Friday, Friday Night Heights. I don't believe it's SEC Network, maybe SEC Plus. Okay. And then the following weekend, is it Brown? Brown at home. It's for senior afternoon. It's on a Sunday. And then Big Ten Championships in Champaign the week after that. We're still, top 4 qualifying to the premier session, the evening session on Saturday. So we're not on the cusp. I think we feel confident that we're going to be there, but was it last year we were in number one seed? I think, 2 years ago. So we used to be in 1 or 2 and knowing we're going to be there by now. Right now we're just like, okay, we have to earn it. So the girl, like I said, the girls are looking great in the gym, feeling confident, and I'm so proud of my youngsters that have stepped up this year and really done the job for the program. In one of those cases where not knowing what they're getting into themselves into as freshmen, and my transfers as well, 3 transfers as well. So, any questions?
I had a question for you. You graduated quite a few seniors last year who had kind of led this program to new heights in the last few years, but you've not really fallen off too much. If you had all of your best scores of the year, you're up over 198. How do you get the team to do that all on the same day?
That's the trick. Everybody's their own person, their own being. I mean, we try to get to know them in and out. Their teammates, know them better than we do. Some of them, we try at all costs not to let them get in their head. It's about what it's all about. This is definitely a team-led team. Our captains do an amazing job. I mean, they bring things to us if they need to, and that's never. So we're really excited about that. We try to develop personal relationships with each one of the kids on each one of our events that we coach. So, they truly believe that we're here to make them better, and they're going to do their best gymnastics at Michigan State this year or, before they leave. So it's that kind of bond and trust and respect that we're constantly trying to get them to understand and believe that they're going to see it. It'll work itself out. We have a lot of fun doing it. I think that's it's not boring for them like it might have been at the junior Olympic level because they do so many repetitions and there's so much pounding and so much overtraining. So we're thoughtful of that, and we ask for their opinions on a lot of things when it comes to conditioning or flexibility, or we have yoga come in once in a while, and they really appreciate that. They're getting massages now a couple times, once every couple of weeks. So they know we're looking out for their physical well-being and their mental health as well, because when it comes down to it, it's not really about the gymnastics and the difficulty of the gymnastics they can do, but it's about where's their headspace, what's going on at that time, and we're obviously concerned about that, and they know because we ask.
And you've had some newcomers step up, and with injuries and all of that, is it difficult to set your lineup each week with having to choose from all of that talent?
We're just talking about that right now. We have depth on each event, and we have depth that can score, whoever we're losing, whoever's stepping out is capable of scoring that. They just don't all have the experience that that it might take on that given day or that given moment to blast that ball, say, and stick it and go 9925 like such and such a person could or whatever. And that's something that you're on a fine line too, because as a staff, we're trying to strategize how we do this and make sure, we push this button and it's going to work. That's not a guarantee, and I at no time never want any one of my athletes to think that I have a doubt in them, because if they're doubting themselves and they know that I'm doubting them, we're not in a good space. So it's all about just believing in them and giving them the opportunities. If you give them an opportunity and they fail or aren't as successful as you think they are, do I take the opportunity away? That's the struggle that I'm always having is, I got that. They need to still know that I believe in them, so I'm gonna give them another chance. Let's just see if we can do that. So to a fault sometimes, but I think we've always got to have all of them knowing that we believe in them, or they wouldn't be here.
This may be your dumb question of the day. I enjoy watching your sport. I don't know how to keep score. I don't know what 119.754 against 118.963 means and what you need in that routine to take the lead. Can you explain it in layman's terms at all?
Wow. Yeah, it depends too, because some meets there's 2 judge panels, some meet there's 4 judge panels, some meets there's 6 judge panels. So normally 4 and 6 judge panels, they drop the high and the low and average the 2. The start value is what's important. The start value is every routine starts at a 10.0. And then we, on bars, beam, and floor, we start at a 9.4. So we literally, a 9.4, meaning their routine, what they put up, you're given a 9.4, okay? We have to find 0.6 of bonus, whether it's difficulty or connection bonus or anything to get them up to a 10, so they can compete at that 10.0 start value. Then the judges start deducting down from the 10.0. There's some routines that go up, you'll see a 9.8 start value where they weren't given certain bonus because they missed a connection or they didn't give them the D credit for a certain tumbling pass or whatever. So that's one of the only circumstances where, as coaches, we can inquire the judges. We put in a written inquiry of why was that one judge had a 10.0 start, one judge had a 9.8. Well, the 9.8 missed such and such, actually missed a skill in judging, and it happens. They're human. So yeah, does that help a little bit?
Well,
so they average the
sure.
score and it goes up.
I don't know what you need each routine, but you must know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's special requirements. Each event is broken down with special requirements, whether it's a leap, acro series. Every skill is labeled a letter by difficulty, A through E, A being the easiest and E being the most difficult. And there's connection bonus that you can get by connecting, say, a C to a D. C being a lower skill and a D being a higher level skill. There may be 1/10 connection bonus between the D, which is equal to 1/10, and the C, which really isn't any bonus. So it's a little, the judges got a lot of work, cut out for them, because this is actually at our association convention in Oklahoma City in May. It's a rule change year. Every 2 years we change rules. So stuff will be devalued because we're trying to make the sport more interesting, as long as we keep it safe, but we're trying to reward for the more difficult skills too, because elites and Olympians are coming back into the program that are, just rocking the socks off of others that don't have that training. So we're trying to, level the playing field a little bit in that regard as we can. So it'll be interesting to see after this year. There's probably gonna be a lot of changes, some good, some we'll see. Yeah.
I
wanted to touch on two themes you talked about earlier with headspace and with youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a young team and so much turnover, sometimes you have to maybe change an approach and how you treat them, I would think. But I'm curious how you approach this group compared to last year when you had so many senior leaders and players who'd been through the start of the program, or not the start of the program, but sort of the regenesis, if you will, that were involved.
It's interesting that you say that, because and it's not about leadership so much. It's about leadership combined with experience, combined with enthusiasm and motivation. I'll just use Skylar, Gabby, Delaney, Gianna as examples where the four of them had all of that. Okay, I have 3 leaders this year that are amazing at what they do. It's just on a different level of what that was, so it might not seem as I can't say, Team 51 used to do this. Why aren't you guys doing that? They're being led by 3 different people that have a different approach. And the newbies coming in, I have 7 of them. Yeah, 7 of them. That 3 came from different programs that were taught completely different, and they had a process that was completely different, and coaching philosophies are completely different. So they had to not only transition to the university, but transition to our style of how we do things. And then the 4 newbies didn't know what they were getting into and just kind of jumped on board because it was like, oh, this is how you do things at Michigan State. So that was easy. What I'm finding is our leaders that we have now are very good student athletes. They are very gritty, they're very knowledgeable, they're very inviting when it comes to being like go-to people for someone who may have a problem that has nothing to do with gymnastics or may be relevant to the sport or whatever. And I think where they help the most is, I'll just use this one thing because it seems to be more and more a parent that mental health is a big issue. And there's a stigma that's been associated with it for so long that, we're trying everything that we can do to eliminate or erase that stigma, and it's working. And our kids are reaching out to people for whatever reason we're left out of that loop. I know why we're left out of that loop, and that's a good thing, but there's things that we can do to help them. And if we're brought into that process to help kids that, for whatever reason, are nervous or fear of failure, fear of success, whatever it is, in meeting and reaching out and using the resources that we have here, it's really done an amazing job of helping these guys. And I know their plates are full over there because there's a lot of sports here and there's a lot of student athletes that require that assistance. But it helps them understand. And the biggest, I would say, con to the whole thing was like just breaking through that barrier, the stigma that's associated with mental health. No one's saying you're crazy. It's coping skills and learning how to cope for not just your gymnastics career, but life after Michigan State. When you go out into this world, good luck. We'll all need mental health help. But basically it's that, and they understand that. They can even talk about it with each other. They can share that, and that's all done through Destiny, our athletic trainer, and she refers them to them if they choose to do it, and they develop a relationship, and we've seen some great progress.
Jack, last one.
I know you say that you don't watch the other team's routines, you stay with what you got going.
I try not.
Try not to. But gymnastics, I guess maybe golf, bowling, skiing, you can't play defense. So when you're done, you've done what you're happy with it, and then another team has one rotation left. How nerve-wracking is that? And do you wish you could defend them?
Yeah, that's completely nerve-wracking, especially back in the day when we had 6 at a regional and we had 2 byes, one before bars and one before floor, where you'd sit out for a half hour while the other teams competed, and you'd get pulled back in and you'd watch the scores all elevate. It was all over the place until the last routine. So thankfully we're not doing that anymore, but it is difficult. But it's easy to say, we can only control the controllables. The judges' scores are not controllable. So we try to instill these guys, don't watch the other team. We're as rude as putting our backs to the other team when they're competing. We're all about us and watching what's going on. Well, then the Jumbotron's right up there, and there's that beam routine that they're nailing or whatever. And they're like, okay, let's stand over here. If you see me moving the team around, it's because of what they can see or what. And then you hear crowd reactions and crowd responses. It was like, was that a 10? Those kind of things plant the negative seeds. If we're getting ready to go on and finish on beams, on a road trip. This weekend we got the draw that we're opening on, we start on vault or bars and we end on vault. We're really happy with that. Starting on bars and ending on vault with beam and floor, munched in the middle. Get the apparatus out of the way at the beginning, that'll be thrilling. But some of these meets come down to the last routine. It gets that close. We're talking about tenths of a point, half a tenth of a point, quarter of a tenth of a point, and that's it. Kentucky and whoever they went again, was it Arkansas? Kentucky and Auburn, Kentucky and Arkansas tied last week. It's a tie. I was like, I don't want to tie. I just don't. Knock on wood. God, I hope I didn't just.
No overtime.
Yeah, no, there's no overtime. It's just like everybody walks out, you sign the sheets, and you got a tie. How's that going to help me in the rankings for seeding for postseason? And that's coming up. We're number 11 right now. We want to go higher, so see what happens.
All right.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, guys.